What is good? Episode 24, trending down. Got myself Ethersole and the infamous Bender on the mics. Go
Infamous a
peep.
bad thing?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's an okay thing. But as always, we don't want to catch lashings from the producers, so go hit the YouTube and all the buttons that come with that, the subscribes, the likes, get the algorithm flowing. Quite a bit to talk about, it seems, this week.
I mean, it feels like there's a lot going on again, which is fun.
Yep.
I think all of it's probably a trickle down from just like Blur liquidity and people being excited to kind of be back in NFTs and play around there.
Number go up seems to help the vibes a ton in crypto.
Yeah, it's like very an emotional place. Everyone says don't trade with your emotions, but you can just tell that emotions are on people's sleeves all the time.
Oh, 100%. People overinvest and they just are checking the charts nonstop. But it's part of the game we play. Love to see it. We're at 1645 on ETH right now, punting the YOLO long as we speak. So here we go, 50x long. And we'll see how it plays out.
Wish you the best.
Yep. Okay, well, let's jump right in. We'll probably hit some main themes and then jump into Twitter topics per usual. But let's see. The first one I think is probably what's been going on with Jack Butcher. Is that his last name?
I don't know.
I thought it was like Buchter or something.
I don't know. I haven't tried to look into it.
Okay.
I pronounce it as Butcher.
Okay, well, it's spelled Butcher, so I guess it's probably
Absolutely,
Butcher.
yeah. That's why I'm taking it.
I thought the producer fucked up. So anyway, I mean, checks hit all time high. O'Peppins obviously popped off. We talked about them a ton on this podcast. So if you trailed the fade god, then you're welcome. Normally you should probably fade everything I say, but also maybe not because sometimes it hits for 100x.
I was gonna say the things that you hit on far outweigh the things you don't.
Yes, and
But more often than not, you're hitting.
They hit, but sometimes I just don't capitalize on the right timing of taking profit. But O'Peppins went nuts because essentially he just like tweeted that he's going to start working on them and like updated the picture.
Right. Which
so
is
we love
cool.
to see that. Yeah.
And like in full transparency, I faded these. I faded you, and they went from 0.04 to 0.14, and you even said to me that usually what I do is I watch these big moves, I don't take profit, and I round trip it, and it's okay.
Oh yeah.
I watched those go back to 0.05, and I was like, my man got a round trip ticket.
Mm-hmm. And when they were at 0.2 or 0.14 or whatever, I was like, dang, I have like a nice little stack of ETH off of something that I basically just punted. And then they went back literally down to 0.05. And of course, I'm kicking myself for not like doubling down at that point. But I don't know. It was a risky move. And I was just like, all right, I'll eat what I have in there if it goes to 0. And then literally one tweet, we go from 0.05 to 0.6.
Right.
I think they got all the way to 1 ETH the other day.
They did. Somewhere just south of that. I think like 0.9 something, maybe just at 1.
Crazy. I mean, honestly, not to toot the podcast's horn, but how many times have we talked about stuff and then it kind of just goes nuts a couple months later? I mean, you got Kanto, O'Peppins, I mean, Arbitrum in general. Just saying, you know, it's worth the wait and a listen.
It feels so obvious at the time and in hindsight. Maybe that's partly because hindsight's 2020, but we're talking about the things that seem to be prevalent, and if something seems to be prevalent, it usually ends up being prevalent. And that
Exactly.
is as simple as it is sometimes.
Yep.
I mean, O'Peppins, you look at it at hindsight, it's so obvious. Jack Butcher's running checks, and they are sending. And O'Peppins...
On every tweet, right? Like, that's
every
the
tweet.
thing.
And that was all you needed to know, was that, okay, he's got O'Peppins. He's made the comment that you pointed out that he's going to do these and work on them after checks are kind of launched a little bit more. And all you need to do is extrapolate from checks that it takes one tweet for him to send checks further. And you look at O'Peppins and say, okay, he can run it back. And it was that obvious, and he did it. And I don't know what the problem is there. Like, what made me not buy in? And I think it's because I did not put those two pieces together. I didn't say, okay, you did it once with checks. You can definitely do it again with OPEPINs, but there's no reason that wouldn't be the case.
Yep. And I think the interesting angle there now is like he's talking about OPEPINs being a PFP. And so, I
Right.
mean, in our space, the NFT space right now, PFPs reign king in my head. Obviously, I think there's going to be a ton more just different use cases for NFTs. But right now, that's the one that resonates with everyone. So you could maybe even make an argument where if he pulls something crazy off, these could go higher than what Checks is doing.
Yeah. I don't see.
Maybe. I think for me personally, if it did flip, it would be like a, an ETH flipping Bitcoin type scenario where I would probably definitely sell because that would be like a top signal. But
That's kind of my thought too. And it depends how OPEPINs work. If it's a burn Ponzi the same way checks are, where you can burn X amount to do Y, there's no way they don't send because you can't PFP checks. And the ability to PFP something is consistent awareness of it. You don't need to tweet about it when you are it and you're tweeting. And I think that's like the most bullish signal that it could be if they are a PFP. But you look at checks and you've got a 16,000 supply that's burned down to 7,800.
how wild.
Crazy. So
And there's people going for that black check.
Yeah. Which is cool, I guess, if that's your thing.
Right.
I don't see the end result being a viable outcome for me.
I agree. And I think like, okay, if you look at it objectively, that would be probably the most expensive NFT, like to burn enough checks to get there. It'd be one of the most expensive NFTs out there, if not the most. I don't know if Beeple would top that, if you can even count that. But yeah, I don't know if that becomes worth it unless you're just banking on Jack sticking around in the space, becoming this huge like artist, digital artist. I don't know his background, so he kind of just popped out of nowhere for me. And then, him becoming an icon like 5 years, 10 years down the line, and all of a sudden that thing is in a museum, I guess. I don't know how you justify it, to be honest.
I don't either. I don't think you do necessarily.
No, I'm not playing the burning game. I'm not doing anything like that. Even if OPEPINs has a burn, I'll obviously like watch and look at what's good with the dynamics, but I mean, I'm here to kind of take profit on these like quicker plays.
Right. I think it's cool what he's doing and how he's playing with it, but I really think his one-liner rings true, which is I'm not here to make you money, I'm here to make you think.
Yeah, I like it. I like the approach.
Because if you go through, there's the VV editions, which is the original checks that are essentially a mint pass to mint your burned check. You can burn them together. But if you look at the VV originals, which are the ones that people have created, they're pretty cool. You can go see the floor ones are kind of just like a rainbow, like hodgepodge of colors. But the ones that sell for like 2-3x floors are very curated. They're all one color tone. They have like really nice gradients, or they're like maybe alternative color tones. They're pretty cool how people are doing things with these.
Yeah, I think for me, I think part of this whole thing is like a big experiment, right? We're like seeing what works, what doesn't. And people were not sold on open editions, and to see one almost becoming like a new blue chip, potentially. I mean, this could crash and burn like Goblin Town or whatever else you want to compare it to, but the potential is definitely there. The community is crazy about it. And I don't know, it's just a different look on, the norm of, okay, here's a PFP. Now we're going to drop a mutant version. Now we're going to fucking drop this, and like just copying Yuga. And this is not that at all.
Right. I think that's the big thing.
That's the part that's like sick. You can definitely make it in different ways. Just be creative, I think it bodes well for the future of what comes next in NFT world. And if you don't fuck with NFTs, you're probably like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And I don't care. And that's all good too.
Right. I think what I really struggle with the Jack Butcher checks thing is that if you look at his past collections, they're all the same. It's the same thing checks did, but with different shapes, different amounts. Maybe it's, 100 circles in an array as opposed to 100 checks.
Yep.
And it really makes me wonder why it was this one that popped off and what the lesson is there. And it kind of seems to me that it's just keep trying. even if the first ones didn't hit the way you wanted them to, this one caught like wildfire.
Yep.
So every time
That's
I
cool.
see like a new trending collection, I'm like, oh, what is this? 100 meals or 100 metals. I'm like, oh, it must be a derivative. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, wait, it's an old Jack Butcher collection that I thought was a derivative. So it's
Right.
kind of interesting that he made, I would say, one original probably long ago and iterated on it
Yeah.
until it really worked.
I love the charity aspect of it. Like a lot of the holders that are minting, minting generational wealth off of this, are like buying those where you buy the NFT and then there's no proceeds. It doesn't go up. It just mints a new one, and what you paid for it goes to feed people. Or there was one for Turkey and Syria with the earthquakes, and like to me that's epic and an easy way to kind of like start a nice flywheel of good karma, if you will.
Yeah.
I obviously there's like that elephant in the room if you want to make sure the money gets to where it needs to be, but I have no reason to believe it's not. So
I've always had that opinion too, and you kind of have to dig down and is it like, do I want to be pessimistic or optimistic here? And I choose the same route of like, I just choose to believe it does.
yeah, exactly.
A lot of it is like the money was sent to this wallet, and I'm like, great.
Where's
What does that mean?
going?
Yeah.
And like, who are you giving it to in Turkey and Syria, right? Like, is there some fund? I mean, there is probably, I haven't even looked into it, right? So this is just a ramble, but
Well, no, I mean, you're spot on though. We had a mutual friend that said, hey, I want to donate. What's the right avenue? And he really fact checked and said, hey, here's the address. Here's where it goes. Here's how the money's used. If anybody else wants to donate.
it goes back to like this whole space in general. There's a lot of money extraction because there's a lot of money flying around, and you just want to double check everything because it's so easy to spin up like hey, deposit here for, meals to, relief or whatever. And then, okay, yeah, let me pocket that because people are just, not going to check it. But
Right.
either way, love what he's doing. Love what's going on there. And then, I mean, today we had Coinbase announcement. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it was like a layer 2, had an NFT involved with it that's trending at like $12 each.
Yep.
40K supply right now.
Yeah, I think it's free to mint if you just go over to Base, whatever they're referring it to. It's built on Optimism, so for all the Arbitrum chads out there, I guess you could view this as a huge missed opportunity for Arbitrum, and that's kind of how I view it because this would have been very nice to have on that network. But at the same time, this puts a little pressure on Arbitrum to maybe release a token finally.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take. When you have a big player come in and almost vampire the community like that, it tells me that there was a window you really had to execute and maybe didn't hit it. Mm-hmm. But then again, if Arbitrum comes out and says, hey, we're actually building something, let's compete, I would be shocked if they didn't hold the market's attention more than Coinbase did because we've seen Coinbase flounder so many times in this space.
Oh, I mean, how could you be super bullish on something like this when it's Coinbase, right? Like they fumbled the fuck out of their NFT marketplace. Like
Right.
It does zero volume. I think LimeWire does more volume.
It's incredible. Coinbase is great at being like a centralized exchange. Just lean into that. Stop trying to branch out because you're just burning engineering time, it seems.
Right. And the thing for me is they're the one player who played it safe, stuck around, stayed compliant. They push the boundaries on regulations, but they also fight for them, which is what we need. Stick to that. You guys are going to become a champion of the industry just doing that by like not screwing up. I mean, everyone else folded.
Right.
I don't even need to name it. FTX, Celsius, you got, whoever else. Coinbase was basically crowned the king by default because of all this, just because they played it by the book. Doing this other stuff definitely puts them in the crosshairs a little bit. One, it also opens them up to like failure, like we saw with the NFT launch. So I don't know. I think it's cool. People are super, super bullish on this. I want to see it come to fruition. If anything, I'm super bullish on Arbitrum. I know I'm super biased as well, but I think it puts more pressure on them when they kind of just had this like environment of, yo, we're the home of DeFi. Everyone comes to us. Now maybe they're like, oh shit, you know, Coinbase does have 110 million users. Are those the people using layer 2s? In my head, not really, but still, you can't count it out. So good competition for Arbitrum.
Absolutely. What do you think about partnerships for it? Do you think Coinbase reaches out to traditional Arbitrum natives and tries to kind of maybe vampire more of a community or get more support there?
I could see it. I mean, they came out with a ton of protocols, basically like, we're going to launch on you guys, which makes sense. But, you know, they're very explicit about there never being a token. Luckily, there is an Optimism token. So I think that's catching kind of a bid today, knowing that it'll get some of the fees and stuff that go along with Coinbase using that technology. I'm actually kind of shocked that Polygon didn't win this.
I'm not.
Their BD team is top notch, but their tech is kind of trash.
Yeah, Polygon just seems to keep floundering in every direction, I feel like. Like the chain just always is suffering for some reason or the other. I'm not super bullish on Polygon. I pulled everything off of it recently. Haven't had a great time over there. So I'm actually seeing a lot more strength in Arbitrum than Polygon now.
I'll tell a little story here. I basically used Polygon when there was like a farming craze, and I bridged a good amount over. And then it got stuck on the bridge for like 5 days, and I was one of maybe 10 users that got stuck there. And they just kind of like silenced us in the Discord, and finally, and like being like, you know, wouldn't give updates, would not give any announcements, right? Because that's like kind of a scare, if you will. And finally they got it fixed without even like telling us. I basically had to like hound them myself. Ever since that, not going to touch it ever.
There it goes.
There it goes. See you later. You basically screwed up. You get one chance. To me, that was like, oh, you guys are super centralized. Why am I hitting up your customer support to get help with your bridge? Like, right. What? I don't know. I'm sure they fixed it and things are going better now. But
you know, there's other things they've done too that really just like rubbed me the wrong way. Is they have this foundation where they'll give out grants, but the grants are like $8,000. And you had some of the biggest projects on Polygon getting the most of $8,000 for like, hey, here's your grant to build. And I was like,
oh yeah, I remember you talking about that. And then they're just shipping out millions to people to migrate to them.
Yeah, I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, these guys have huge protocols over there, and it's like, hey, congratulations, here's an $8,000. I think it's $10,000. The $10,000 grant. It's like, oh, that's like 0.1% of our TVL. Like, what am I going to do with this?
You always have to reward the OGs on your chain. Like, that's like how anything becomes massive is, you know, people making money is the best marketing you could ever afford. And so like, if your project's going to do well, you have to make the early adopters rich. I mean, that's generally the formula. Right. So that's like the opposite of that.
Man, they rubbed me the wrong way in so many ways. Yeah. Nothing really against it in terms of like its technology, just the way it's operated.
Right. No, it's not something I'm going to fuck with. Anyway, more pressure on Arbitrum is good for everyone.
Exactly. And funny story, like the person that put in a bid that was 1 ETH when the floor was 0.7 for a size of 100 yesterday, I almost just put in a bid for 100 ETH when the floor is 1 ETH.
On what?
Some random collection. It was the Checks VV originals. When I was looking at them, we were talking about them. I was like, I'll throw some bids in here. And I kept missing the period to do like 1.0. And I put in 100 and almost clicked bid. And I was like, oh, God.
Dude, that's what happens when you're multitasking on the podcast.
There have been so many moments of mislistings, misbiddings with Blur. And I think it really is the amount of movement that's happening. You have more listings and more bidding happening per minute than ever before. So the amount of errors that people are seeing are higher.
I'm so heated. And I can't even talk about it, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I get good karma. Because I missed out on a good amount of come up because of someone fat fingering a bid. And I didn't get it because I didn't have the gas to accept, because all my ETH is in Blur farming bids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man,
like legit. Hurts. Now I'm keeping a decent amount to accept just in case.
Yeah. I've got a half ETH in the wallet for transaction fees if I need to rip something real quick. And then the rest is all in the bid wallet. Yeah.
Makes sense. Ugh, man, that was a miss. But anyway, moving on. We keep it moving because you know what? That person had a way worse day than me.
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't know how many. Do you know how many got accepted?
I was watching it. I'd say probably 20.
Okay.
So out of the 250 size they put up of ETH wise, they lost 10%. It's not horrible.
I think I would have easily accepted probably 40 plus, because I was well within the time limit before they canceled it. So that would have been a large hit for them.
Oh yeah, because once a transaction is pending on your side, it locks their bid. So they can try to rip the bid back and be like, oh shit, let's not do this. But if you get a transaction off that's pending, it is locking the bid for them.
Yeah, I would have definitely.
So you would have ripped all those.
Anyway, I mean, speaking of Blur and farming bids, there's been a ton of salt on Twitter about what Blur is doing and like it's ruining the NFT market. I just think all that is such trash.
Yeah, dude. Everything that happens, there are haters, and it's that simple.
Of course. Like, oh, this is, NFTs are super liquid, and then like, there's that narrative, and then what? They become super freaking liquid. You can go to a collection that's tiny, and all of a sudden there's like literally hundreds of ETH you could rip your collections into. I mean, I have old collections that are sitting in my wallet that I could have never unloaded, and now if I wanted to, I could just get rid of all of them in one click.
Right.
So, of course, there's like the whole, okay, but the farming and like, people drive the collection down due to bidding and stuff like that. I mean, sure, but they also do, it goes the opposite way. They drive it up because of bidding too. So, I mean,
right.
There's really no good argument there. I'm having a ton of fun ripping bids and stuff.
The coolest thing is that those guys, I think we're talking about the same thing here. They dumped 72 apes into 6,000 ETH of liquidity, and the floor didn't move.
How
that
insane.
Is insane. I don't every negative comment about the Blur farming and what they're doing in the market is moot at that point, because it created a liquid market out of decentralization of bidding.
Yep. Like, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, to offload $10 million worth of apes, that is something that attracts larger players.
Right. And that's what you want. You want someone to come in here and say, hey, I can set a 400 ETH bid wall at 0.1 for this collection I really want, and I'll acquire all of them. All that's doing is saying, hey, when this guy is done acquiring, he's probably not going to sell those anytime soon if he's done his math and said, this is my entry point. So take the signal. If that bid wall doesn't move, join him.
Exactly.
God, man.
I mean, it's relentless. I think it's just people not knowing how to bid and then like just being salty about maybe that.
It really seems to me like it is the next iteration of NFTs getting closer to altcoins.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this basically paints that picture 100%.
Yeah, and traditionally, like nothing against NFT community, but a lot of them don't understand DeFi or trading coins, and this is a part of trading coins. You have buy walls, you have sell walls, you play with those. Like if this buy wall at 0.1 isn't moving, you're saying, okay, where's the sell wall at? Like where's this coming next?
Right.
Where's the next bid wall? It's levels, and if people are automating it and levels are moving, you got to pay attention to it. It makes it more fun. It's not just hey, let me buy this and hope to God it does not dump to zero overnight.
It's a ton of fun. I'm having a blast with it. I'm not like God tier, but we get on the mic and start learning strategies, and it's like, I don't know, it's fun in that aspect.
Absolutely. And my early take with the season 2 was oversaturation. You had underestimation of season 1 for what it would be worth, and people faded it. And then you'd have season 2 overestimation. Everyone's going to jump in. I'm in the opposite camp now. I think people have realized it's either too hard, takes too much effort, or they're saying it's not going to be worth it. And they're going to fade season 2 again, and they will regret it.
Yep. And I'm only going to say this once on the pod because I'm not going to keep hammering it. But again, I couldn't agree more with that. When there's a little bit of friction, it's generally worth doing it.
Yeah.
People are going to fade this because they're lazy. And that was another thing that was like, trying to toss salt at Blur on Twitter. It's like, nah, bro, you're just lazy and you don't want to farm. I mean, again, I go back to that one tweet and I've referenced it with you plenty of times. Someone made like fucking, what was it, 2.6 million with 30 ETH just messing around on bids because all they did was do that for 3 months. Like, okay. Even if it's 20% of that, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I used to have a lot of sympathy for people that kind of didn't understand or didn't know, but like this one is laid out in front of you. There's every piece of information out there. We both missed it season 1 and said, it's not worth it.
Oh yeah.
Not doing it twice. Worst case scenario, I look back and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I thought I would have been more, but I learned. And I didn't, at least I swung, right? I took the time and I swung the bat.
Yep. And there's ways to do it where you could just very passively do this stuff if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I've got way more points than I had season 1 because I didn't do season 1 and I've lost no ETH.
Yeah.
So where's the losing ground here? I don't see it. Just put in the effort. Take the chance.
Amen.
Amen.
Nothing. I'm not even going to dwell on it more because people don't deserve it. If you want to know about alpha, no, kidding. Our community deserves it. But if you want to know about alpha, go to our last episode. We talk literally nothing but Blur strategy and farming. So plenty of information out there. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to keep harping on it because 1, we don't want to like redo old content, but 2, it's out there. So go check it out.
And all that strategy is what I've been deploying and it works. Works great.
Oh yeah. We've been on the mic just nonstop. Like, okay, what's next for you?
Right. All right, moving on. Off Blur.
See you later, Blur.
So big thing that happened otherwise this week was licking the toad.
Oh yeah.
And I think you had the funniest response because you had played it before I did, and you were like, "Man, I'm gonna puke."
Dude. I mean, was I wrong on that?
No, not at all. Which is funny because I thought you meant it was like gross or nasty, and like
I knew that you were gonna think that for sure too.
The minute I played it, I was like, "Whoa, okay, I get it."
Yeah. No, it's like this trippy, like, obviously that's what they're going for. Like kind of, how would you say it? Like Burning Man or like mushrooms vibe, right? That's what it is. That's what I'm looking for.
It honestly feels like the story that Gordon Goner told during the 1-year like anniversary of Bored Apes on the Spaces, where he was like, when I thought of the other side, I was in the backyard doing acid and I called Gargamel up and I'm sitting here with my head in my hands like, oh my God, these guys. And like, this seems like the brainchild of that moment of like, okay, what if we bring the acid trip to the users through Dookie Dash?
Yeah, it fully caters to that.
Yeah. Ton of fun because I think it evened the playing field between pro gamers and regular people like you and I.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, so basically what it is it's this new trippy version of Dookie Dash, and you only have to get, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 seconds in, and then you enter what's called toad mode, and there's a bunch of like floating toads and you have to collect those, but it's super like, how would you say it? Like, there's no skill. You kind of just like float around and like try and collect these things because you're moving so fast that the screen is kind of blurry and there's so many obstacles in there that you're just ping ponging off of them basically. So it 100% is, and then you can quit after that because you get your toad score. So I don't know. I'm a fan because I'm not going to have to like slave away for hours.
Right.
But, yeah.
It just seems like the pro gamers had a great ability to have like fast twitch muscles and muscle memory to dodge the obstacles and survive longer to get insanely high scores. Toad mode removes that. You need to survive 20 seconds and then you literally cannot die in toad mode. So they really like normalized the skill level and said, whoever can get the most toads, you're all going to get the same duration, no matter if you're the best player, Mongrel, or the worst player, Ethersole. And It's going to be great. You have a higher rank than I do in
Represent
toad
that.
mode, so who am I talking to?
No, and then that goes back to like the tier system, right? I think like you and I were talking, the tiers really help you in toad
Crazy amount. Because you could normalize the tiers through duration. You have a T4 pass, but you survive 3 minutes against someone with a T3 who survived 5 minutes. T3 is more valuable. Toad
Yep.
mode, you're surviving the whole way through. That multiplier with that power shark multiplier, you cannot touch. It's a different playing field.
Yep. It's going to be interesting, and it's only for a week, and it's for like this companion, and you've done the math on it. Let's just leak the alpha.
There's 50, it's top 2,000 Dookie Dash scores or top 500 Toad scores. At most, with no overlap, it's 2,500 companions, which is a top 10% trait in the collection. At the minimum, it's 1,500 with complete overlap, and that's a top like 7% trait. Either way, it's a valuable trait.
Boom. There it is. It's worth
Simple as
playing.
that.
And if you have a higher tier one, it's going to be a lot easier to get a higher score in this game mode.
Right.
And it's going to be fun.
That being said, I'm not going out and buying sewer passes and saying, okay, I can buy a sewer pass, get a top whatever score to get a companion trait. I don't know if that value proposition is really there. Mm-hmm. So I'm not taking that risk. But for passes I do have, I think it's of utmost importance to get a companion trait just for the rarity tick, because people love that rarity jump.
Yep. Amen to that. So yeah, TLDR there is like definitely play on your pass. If you have a higher tier pass, you're probably going to get top 2K, which means you're guaranteed this little companion. And you just love to see it. Yuga doing Yuga things.
It's man, it's hard to visual or conceptualize it sometimes because it feels like Yuga just throws an idea at a dartboard and they could miss the board, and the community is saying this is brilliant.
I know. You got to love it for them because they just have such a diehard cult following. And dude, you always have to go all in on cults. Like Tesla was a cult early days. Yep. Apple was a cult early days. I mean, dude, the list goes on.
It's awesome to see, not because I'm part of the community, but because I can put myself in their shoes and I know they're having a ton of fun with it.
Yeah.
You can just imagine these 4 initial founders on a phone call just concocting new ideas and being like, what if we did this? And they're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds like so much fun. So I really empathize with them about how much fun they're probably having.
Yeah, I agree. No,
just
it's
cool
fun. It's fun to see. I mean, that's what this space is about, right? Like, everyone's trying to have a little fun.
That is something that I touched on in like a 45-minute call yesterday, and I would say touched on, but I ranted about, where the space should be fun. As long as it's fun, it's good. The minute it becomes this war zone battlefield back and forth where like everyone hates everything, it's like, why are we here? What are we doing? Like nothing comes from that that's positive. Like even if it is a battle zone and we all hate everything, you just dampen everything down. So who's winning? No one. You're just trying to make everyone else's bags go lower so yours go higher, but they're fighting your bags so yours goes lower. So just like support people and be like, hey, that's cool. I don't have any, pudgy penguins, but they're making toys. That's cool. Like just be happy for people. Fuck.
I know. It's like that's such a hard thing these days. Like,
I know.
I think the default reaction is like, oh, they're winning. Like, I hate that for that reason. And it's just like, you can probably not do that and still like have a good life.
Yeah. Goes miles.
Yeah, it goes miles. But I think that's kind of the biggest topics of this week. Should we hop into the Twitter topic portion?
Let's do it.
Let's see what's good. Let's see. What do we got here? Do we want to start DeFi, NFTs? Let's start in DeFi real quick.
Okay.
Since we've been pretty NFT heavy. What are your thoughts on Kanto as a player in the DeFi wars?
Are you asking me or are you asking yourself?
I mean, I'm happy to start it off.
Well, Let me go first because I'm sure you have a better answer. So I want to front run your answer. It's hard to hit a single after a home run's been seen for me. I don't even like baseball. So Canto is just like an early test bed of all the things we've seen work in DeFi before, in my opinion. We saw an Ohm fork come out. We're going to see a GMX clone, a sport betting clone. We'll see everything get pushed there again for some crazy profit line. Do I think it's going to be a de facto chain going forward? I have no idea. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't have profitability lines while people are doing the kind of old DeFi plays that they know work.
Yeah. You can definitely make some plays. And I think they have a cool value add thing where it's like, contract secured revenue where protocols make money at the baseline, and there's not like these tons of fees everyone's putting on. So it kind of is plus EV for everyone in a sense. But no, it's just like a different take. It's probably going to be a DeFi chain at some point. Like you said, they're going to run back all the old protocols and stuff, and that'll be interesting to watch. But I wouldn't say they're going to be like the top dog by any means.
No.
So it'll be a fun experiment thing, and you could probably make a ton of money if you're playing it right. But that's about it there. I think yeah,
it's a lever. It's a lever back into coins you believe in long term.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I was in Phantom for a huge run up, and I left Phantom because I don't know what its long-term trajectory is. Am I going to miss a 10, 20, 1000x? Who knows? But I got the profit line I wanted from a high-risk play, put it back into something that's low-risk like Stables, Ethereum, and that's kind of my view of Canto again.
Yep. No, I think that's a good way to look at it. While we're on the topic of DeFi, this isn't a Twitter topic, but it was something I wanted to bring up. And there's a ton of uncapped launches being raised on Arbitrum right now for shit tier products. And so, yeah, again, not tied to Canto, but be careful with your money out there, people. Like, I don't know. These things are overhyped and it's like kind of pissing me off. So I just wanted to like get that note out there. That's my own Twitter topic.
Bull market vibes, it sounds like. Back when Vaporware was getting crazy valuations.
There's literally basically a protocol that raised 14 mil recently, and it's an index coin.
What?
But there's team allocation for the index coin. So you immediately lose 80% of your value because they're just buying the underlying. You could just buy the coins that they're buying and hold them yourselves and not lose 80% of the value. This same team launched an NFT to kickstart their whole treasury, and the NFT, all the contracts were fucked and everything. They wanted to sell 1,000. They only sold 200. That's been swept under the rug. Those 200 get a huge allocation of coins to it. So literally everyone that participated, you're subsidizing, one, the team, two, the people who bought the NFTs, which was like a botched launch anyways, but now they're going for, multiple ETH because, people bid the uncapped sale. So just be careful with what's out there. If you want something that's like on a launch pad or whatever is being launched, I would not participate in an uncapped version. And everyone is then being like, well, how would you do it? How would you make it fair? It's like, there's plenty of ways to make these things fair. For example, if I'm doing an index coin, I literally could whitelist all the top 20 TVL protocols on Arbitrum that I maybe want to include in my index, whitelist all the holders of those, and then every holder can contribute 0.2 ETH. And after that, do an uncapped sale. Boom. It's not that hard. Get fucked.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. So if you want the rant, there it is. Unhinged, baby. Moving right along. I had to get that off my chest because
it brings up a great topic. Protect your capital.
Yeah.
You don't get any further by blowing it now.
No. In fact, it hinders you, right?
Right. If you're going to blow it now, blow it in something that you know is going to be here and be successful in 2 years, which is going to be like a blue chip coin.
Right. There's so many other smart ways to spend that money. For example, that sale I'm talking about, their FDV was like 100 or like 80 million or something. And it's like, dude, there's projects on Arbitrum that have been building for years that aren't even that. So why would you Like quick common sense should tell you that that's probably not a good investment. And they're not even launching with a product. So, it's not necessarily the best use of funds. Again, There's going to be a ton more of these. It's not just about this specific one. This is an easy example I can use right now. So, if you're bullish, like, I guess good luck to you. But
and 50x.
And 50x, yeah, an index coin. I mean, at the end of the day, there's 100% failure rate on every index coins. Like, this market is not mature enough for an index coin on like exotic alts.
Right.
One rugs, and guess what? The index is screwed. I mean, there's just, unless you're buying Bitcoin, ETH, and maybe one other, I wouldn't even know which one yet. And you're selling it to boomers, like, then I don't know what else you're trying to offer.
Yeah, what would the third coin be? You have Bitcoin, you have ETH. What is the third one? At one point, dude, I would have said Solana, but I don't think I would now.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny how quick that changes.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so immediately BNB popped in my head, but I solely because they've been a player for so long, but I absolutely would not buy that fund because BNB was included. So
exactly, like BNB's hurt me so many times.
Well, dude, and all the regulatory overhang on BNB right now is like, I mean, CZ has so much money, and that's BNB is the Binance coin for if you don't know. But CZ has so much money, he can like fight and make it work. But holy smokes, I would not want to touch too much, related to Binance right now. So an index with that, nah, I'm good.
Mm-mm. Just gonna hold some Ethereum then. Fade the index. Buy Ethereum, buy ETH.
Ethereum is the index. Like, everyone uses it for NFTs. Everyone uses it for DeFi. Everyone uses it for a collateral. Like, if you're just looking to chill and like sit back and listen to the podcast and laugh, just buy ETH.
Simple as that. We all go down or up together.
I mean, amen. Amen. So yeah, anyway, kind of went on a tangent there, but we can hop back into some, maybe some miscellaneous questions to kind of lighten the mood here.
Miscellaneous? NFT? What are you thinking?
Let's do a miscellaneous. I mean, whatever. You get to pick.
What's the best Zelda game? You haven't played them, have you?
No.
I don't think so.
What's your favorite?
I don't want to talk to you, man.
we're wrapping it here, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Gotta be the Nintendo 64. Ocarina of Time. It's the GOAT. It's the OG.
Is that
kicked
on
off
N64?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It kicked off the like 3-dimensional polygonal gaming for Zelda, and it was so revolutionary. You went from like the Super Nintendo, like 2D, I don't know, 32-bit maybe game that was like cool and it was fun, but man, Ocarina of Time was next level. I lost a lot of childhood into that one. No regrets. Great game. Never played Breath of the Wild. Don't hate me.
I feel like at the end of the day, the original is kind of like always the OG.
Yeah, that's kind of my take.
Or most of the time, I'd say.
Yeah, you've got really good new ones that will compete with it, but it's the ability to look back on something and like think of that like nostalgic happiness you had that cannot be matched to current happiness because you can't compare them the same way. So until you go back and play that game again, it's going to be pristine in your mind. But the minute you go back and play it, you're like, oh, the camera's wonky, the gameplay's not great. So just don't ruin things you love.
You relate it to good memories. So it's
exactly.
Like, it's one of those things.
I had a movie like that. Yeah. I had a movie like that as I was like 4 or 5, and I watched this like cartoon movie, and then in high school, this girl was like, "Hey, have you heard of this movie?" And I said, "Yeah." Like I didn't realize anyone else knew about it, and I had the VHS copy, so I went and watched it again like 10 years later. Ruined the movie. It was not as good as I remembered it.
Wow, rugged.
Just don't revisit the things you love.
Yeah, that's simple as that.
Simple as that.
That's a good one. Wings or tenders, because our boy Jay Crook, who I tossed to follow because that's criminal that I wasn't following him. And for those who aren't following along, this is the guy who's gonna basically convince us that turkey is better than ham at some point on the trending down road tour.
Trending down road tour. What a dream, man! I'm going. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go wings. Honestly, You really can't beat a good wing that like falls off the bone. They've got this amazing like flavor to them. They're saucy. You gotta pick them up and really get in there. But there's a talent to eating wings, right? Like if you're not comfortable with it, if you don't know how to eat the wing, get the meat off without making like a huge sloppy mess, or like, the not the drum wings, but like the wings, like little arm guys,
The flats.
have two bones in them, the flats, yeah. That's a talent to
How
eat
many people were
those.
like the flats at that little
Probably all of them.
situation right there? Dude, love a good wing, and if you're going with someone that can't clean the bone, like, see you later. But
Yeah.
leaving tons of meat on the table, bye bye. But I don't know. A tender's nice when I'm like not looking to deal with the bones, but agreed. Like the wing, I feel like the bone is there to give you more flavor. Maybe that's like just a bro science thing, but that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
So
I buy into it. I buy that take.
but I'm all for like, that buffalo sauce and just getting it in there. Dude, these questions always make me so hungry. Now I need to like dip and go eat. I think it's Jay Crook's plan to just end the podcast early so that we like end up having to go eat.
Okay, hold on. Is barbecue sauce better when it's vinegary or pasty? I don't know the difference.
I don't know the difference either, and we're definitely going to be educated.
I know so little about barbecue that I don't know which one's which. I think I'm gonna go.
Think vinegar versus red sauce is the follow-up there.
That didn't help.
I'm picturing marinara versus. Oh man, that's great.
I'm gonna go vinegar, a little tang to it. Maybe. I don't know.
Boy. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind a little heat too because your boy doesn't, he fucks with the spice. Real quick, by the way, YOLO Podlong up 20%.
Ooh, big print.
Were we back?
We've never been gone.
We've never been gone. That's right.
There was the one pod long actually that was gone, but that's okay.
That's fine. It's like you're 24-1. I mean, you're a heavyweight, just absolute champion and boxer if you're 24-1. So
spot on.
That's us.
We're Muhammad Ali. Should we do one more?
See. Yeah, let's run it. I mean, I'm hungry, but let's run it.
Okay, man.
Where are you going with this? You going NFTs?
I don't know.
You going?
I don't know. I'm reading through some of these questions, and a lot of them I can't answer. Like, what's my favorite TV series of all time? I have no idea.
Impossible to choose that. There's way too many good ones.
Yeah.
How about right now? Like, what's holding your interest? One of them that's holding your interest right now.
Nah, I can't say it.
Okay, see ya.
I got deep into some trash TV on Netflix, and I'm not talking like a low Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm talking like some HGTV, like Jersey Shore style Netflix.
Oh yeah, that's the fun stuff, dude.
Yeah, my thing is like I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna watch anything, but I'll put on some background noise, and 2 hours into working on something, I'll find myself looking up like, oh, we got some drama going on, and suddenly I'm hooked.
Well, there's a different there's like different things for different occasions, right? If I'm looking to get involved in a show, I'll probably watch it when it has my full attention, and like that's like at night or something. But then if it's like in the background on the day, yeah, like trash TV is hilarious for that.
Oh God, yeah. Man, I'm not gonna go any deeper. I don't need people like making fun of me for the kind of things I watch.
No, we're not gonna toss that on the timeline. You know that's gonna be clipped and not by the producer, or actually probably by the producer.
Probably by the producer. He's gonna send it to me.
He's been heated lately.
He's always poking fun at somebody.
Always doing something. I mean, like I said, we need a union, man. Like, this is getting ridiculous.
I'm being abused.
Used and abused. We're being told to use systems we don't wanna. We're being told to record when we don't wanna.
Yeah, damn it. Where's our rights?
I mean, pushing hard for the listeners. He could care less about us. It's all about the listeners, and
which is like the best way to do it. But also, come on.
Of course, like when I thought about it the other day, I was like, oh, he's actually crushing it as a producer because that's kind of like what the whole thing is.
Yeah,
you're trying to deal with the diva talent.
A real good series though, BoJack Horseman, one of my favorites. Touches on a lot of emotional things that are hard to digest. Great show.
Yeah, and if you don't want to watch a cartoon right now, like Mayor of Kingstown is firing. So
Ooh.
go hit that little Jeremy Renner.
Ooh. Okay.
Which, good thing dude didn't die.
Yeah, snowmobile accident, right?
Dude, a snow plow.
Snow plow?
Some car was on the side of the road. He was trying to help them, I think, like dig it out. And he drove the snow plow, got out. It was still in gear and it ran him over.
I thought it was a snowmobile.
No, a full snow plow. What? And like, I'm pretty sure, was very close to dying from it, but was trying to be a good Samaritan. So, you got to still love the dude.
Wow. Yeah. Good on him. Props to Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it. And I can honestly say that.
No, I also would probably get up into a snowplow and have absolutely no idea what to do. So I wouldn't even have gotten it in gear, which is probably the best scenario.
Right. You ever watch a show where like a character or it's like a real life documentary about something that had happened and through unbelievable odds, someone survives something and you've looked at that scenario and been like, I just wouldn't make it because my will to survive would not have been that strong. I would have given up and been like, all right, take me.
Well, thinking about like talking about shows that are in the background, that's like you have like Ridiculousness or those clip shows that show like, people, making it out of, sometimes you don't know if they survived on those shows.
That's fair.
But the ones that do show you like the long-term effects or whatever, and they're like, miraculously they survived. I never understand.
Me either. I watched a documentary about a like deep sea diver that worked on, I think, oil rigs or electrical lines. And he got like disconnected from the anchor sub that supplied oxygen and didn't have oxygen for, I think it was like 15 or 20 minutes. And he climbed to the top of this oil rig and they have like videos of this guy just like floating there. But the water was so cold that it put his body into some sort of stasis and like preserved him. And the guy survived. I thought this documentary ended with the man not making it. And they show him at the end and I was like, wow, had I got disconnected that deep in the water from oxygen, I'm done. I'm not climbing to the top of that. I'm just going to float away and accept it.
Wait a second. How did this start? He was like on an oil rig?
It was a team of deep sea divers that they take out like a boat somewhere to an oil rig and they drop what's called a bell down so many hundreds of feet into the water. And then they leave the bell, which is their tether supply for oxygen and heat. And they go out and work on this rig deep down. And then they got tangled and his supply got cut. And the rig starts floating away from him and he loses sight of his partner. And the guy just thinks to himself, if I'm going to make it out of here and they're going to come back and look for me, I need to be on top of this rig where they would try to find me. And climbs up there, no oxygen supply, passes out. They come back and get him.
That's insane. Okay, yeah. I need to go.
I have goosebumps talking about it because it was so hard to believe. And I'm just like, man, this person's will to survive is multiples more than mine would ever be.
You're just calling it a day. You're like, all right, I've been rugged. See ya.
Yeah. I found I'll send you this article I just found about it. 30 minutes at the bottom of the North Sea, he survived after his oxygen was severed in an oil rig repair job. Crazy. I can't hold my breath more than 2 minutes.
That's okay. Does he have brain damage?
No, that was the crazy part. The whole documentary.
The fact that it was so cold, it like basically cryogenically froze this dude.
They really don't know from like the follow-up from it. All the scientists were saying like, we don't really know how this happened, but we think it was so cold, the blood supply was moving so slowly that the brain and like lack of oxygen damage just didn't happen. Like oxygen really couldn't leave his brain to cause that damage.
Wow.
It is nuts. When this guy, I'm not even joking, when this guy got on the TV and starts talking eloquently with no sort of like visible damage, I was shook.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
I feel like I just watched the whole thing right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Even crazier, like a month later, he was back doing the same job. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely no sense to me.
No, you'd have caught me never in the water again. I wouldn't even take a bath.
No. Like shark attacks. Like, it's like, what? How are you going back and surfing after that?
Yeah. Hello? Like, no. Catch me in a pool.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, catch me on the land at any point in time after that.
I'm now a rock climber until it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Not messing at all. I mean, on that note, we're basically just becoming like a... If you made it this far, you're an absolute legend.
Right. And also watch the documentary. It's so good.
Yeah. You have to find the name of it or something if you can.
Yeah, the name is Chris Lemons is the diver's name. That's all I got for you.
Okay. Well, that's enough. Well, cool. I mean, shit, we could wrap it there. Yeah, we covered all the big topics and got to some funny questions. Keep sending them in so we can keep reloading this doc that we have of rolling questions. If yours hasn't been answered, feel free to ask it again. So producer has to do some work and make sure he's not double posting questions on this form. But we'll eventually get to it, and it just means you might need to ask a better question.
Damn, putting it real.
I'm kidding, of course. Or am I? No, I'm just kidding. There's a ton on this list, so we kind of just like pick at random if I'm being 100% real. But anyway, if you made this far, again, appreciate you for listening. That's episode 24. We'll see if we do a spaces this week. If not, I think we'll probably do one next week. But, those are going to be kind of sporadic anyway. So
I'm going to add one thing real quick before we sign off.
Yeah,
Blur just launched a new feature that just came out. I happened to catch it.
Okay.
They enabled a toggle for the OpenSea flags that show whether or not something is flagged as suspicious on OpenSea. And if it is flagged as suspicious, you cannot sell it on OpenSea and you cannot accept a bid on Blur. The toggle by default is off, so you cannot see those. So if you were to refresh Blur and look at something, you would think, oh, none of these are flagged unless you go to the gear icon and toggle that back on. And then suddenly the entire floor of maybe 10 NFTs will show that they're flagged. Watch out for that.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Good shout. There's a marketplace icon, which I think, I'm not sure what the top one is, but then there's OpenSea flags. What's the marketplace icon?
Whether or not it's on Blur or OpenSea, it'll kind of show you if you toggle it. It's less important. Okay. It'll show you if it's flagged on, or if it's listed on OpenSea.
The most important one is that OpenSea flags, because I steer clear of any OpenSea flagged.
Absolutely.
But what I was hearing is that there was a lot of people not super stoked that like the floors on Blur were showing way lower because there was a flag on OpenSea. And so maybe this is like their remedy to that, but still, I don't know. Good shout. I would go in there and toggle that. Even if you're bidding, like, you don't want to end up with those because those are really liquid if
they will burn you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So go toggle that on right now. Good shout. That just happened.
I got the pod.
Hey, you got the pods back. Trying to educate the masses. I mean, it's kind of not that tight to put it as default off, but
no, I'm actually not happy about it. I think it's a really poor move by Blur. That's them trying to take a stronger market share by maybe locking you into some more illiquid stuff that's only movable on Blur.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it.
No. And then there's the whole argument of like, if an NFT is like flagged, when should it be unflagged and all that stuff. We can get into it on another one. But anyway, appreciate you guys for listening. Quick little tidbit at the end there. So there's always alpha, even if it's just like cautionary alpha. But anyway, thanks again. Hit the YouTube, hit the whatever else. And we'll catch you. The Twitter actually helps a ton. So retweets and likes and comments. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. Appreciate you for tuning in.
Thanks again, guys.
Peace.